back to another session of Gallant Current Affairs and News Analysis. First thing, I have to tell you something very important. We are starting a repeaters batch. നേരത്തെ already പഠിച്ചിറങ്ങിയ കുട്ടികൾക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഒന്നുകൂടി വന്ന് repeaters ആയിട്ട് attend ചെയ്യാവുന്നതാണ്. Especially for 2024 batchന് വേണ്ടി. We are providing seaside classes, current affairs classes, prelims and mains test series, and also we are providing like one-to-one mentorship and also if you are interested you can contact this number or you can contact via the Gallant IAS Telegram channels and such. So that is our new and upcoming. It is going to start in August mid. Now going back to yesterday's practice question, I gave you one of this Gondwana land of how it is affecting India's mining. Discuss India being one of the countries of Gondwana land. Its mining industry continues as much less to its gross domestic product in percentage. So in introduction you could actually mention about India coming out of Gondwana land. So it might have a lot of resources because other countries like West Africa and Africa came from Gondwana land and they have many resources they have strategic minerals, rare earth minerals and such. So in India being a part of Gondwana land we could also get a lot of resources. But the present scenario is our GDP coming from the mining sector is account for only 1.75%. Whereas compared to other countries like Africa and Australia, they contribute to 7.5% to 6.99%, whereas India's lie only in 1.75%. If you can't get this ratios of facts, right? Yesterday from a news article, I told you about this. Like how only 10% of India's landmass is covered under mining or how much they have explored only 10%, coming to only 2% is produced out of it or extracted out of it and less than 1% is allocated for a budget purpose. So this is why the India's mining sector is not coming up. You could actually portray this factor as something also. Now, what are the concerns of why is our India's mining sector behind? We have tribal communities because majority of the tribal community reside in mining areas and such. So if we need to come in to excavate more mining sectors, we have to replace these tribal communities. So major issue will be their rehabilitation and compensation should be given as well. Then we have administrative issues, administrative hurdles of bureaucracy. Only government sector is having monopoly right now. So because of which we can find a lot of administrative issues and environmental concerns are also there in the case of mining. Just go through this PPT. I have written everything in detail. And also to implement this or to come out of this, we have bought the mining and minerals development regulation rules of 2023. So you could mention I have taken this in my yesterday's class. So you could take completely, these are some of the new measures that has been taken by the government. So you could put in this, whereas 6 atomic minerals are converted into critical and strategic minerals. So this 6 minerals can be extracted by the private companies. And also the center has the power to auction mining. Now this will be conducted by the state governments and a license for 5 years will be given, which could be extended up to 2 years. And this is done via the competitive bidding. The central government prescribed details for mining, auctioning and such. The bill allows activity of single exploration for about 1000 square kilometers. Before this legislation, it was just 25 square kilometer. Now it has extended to about 1000 square kilometers. So this is something important which you could actually mention and how India will be able to develop its mining sector. Now moving on to today's news, I have 6 news with me today. So let's see, we have the grammar of commerce in new age geopolitics, CHIPS Act of the US, selective sex surgeries on intersex babies. We have prelims topic of non-confidence motion, ECOWAS and Luna 25. Now the first topic, the grammar of commerce in a new age of geopolitics. Now presently there are 23 developing nations who have signed agreements to have a currency swap agreements with India. So first we need to know what is currency swap agreements. Now currency swap means exchange. So when two countries are actually willing to exchange the currencies of each other, if they are giving a loan, they won't be giving in US dollars or euro or the already established big currencies, but they will be actually transferring or swapping funds based on their local currencies. Now India with UAE, we have signed a rupee dirham, where we can buy and purchase goods in each of our local currencies and not depend upon big currencies like the US dollars. Now we have a lot of benefits there won't be no exchange rates or they won't be affected by market risk and such. The transaction terms are already set in advance. Now with this local currency transaction, we not need to keep any foreign exchange reserves as of our own, and this will also enhance the financial stabilities and would help in internationalization of our rupees, because if more people actually hold rupee in their hands, it will be a boost to our Indian currency. Now we need to know the use of rupee in international payments. Now the context which here is that recently there has been Russia-Ukraine wars going on, because of which the United States and Europe has put sanctions so that the Russians can't use any more dollars or US dollars for the transaction. So India is Russia is a very large trading partner for India, and because of which we need to come up with alternative ways through which we can conduct the trade between India and Russia. So because of which we have started using local currencies, where India will be paying Russia with our local currencies or the Indian rupees, for which a rupee Vostro account has been created. Now Indian will create this rupee Vostro account in the Russian banks, which will hold the Indian currencies. Now this Russian bank will be holding a foreign currency, that is our Indian currency, with which we can buy their goods, and we can buy their goods in the Indian currency, and the Russians can buy goods from India in Indian currency, because of which this both currencies will work out equally. But the problem here is that Russia has a trade surplus, which means that Russia buys very less from India and India buys a lot from Russia, because of which there is a lot of Indian currencies in the Russian banks. These Russians don't have use to the Indian money, because they don't have anything to buy from India that much. So because of which a lot of Indian money are there in the banks, and the Russians are reluctant to hold more of this Indian currency. So that has been one of the issues that has been coming up. But with this also, like, even if this Indian rupees, Russians are reluctant to hold this Indian rupees, there are other possible methods. We could use USD, US dollars or euro, but these are presently not viable because of the sanctions happening. Now because we have already purchased a lot of oil and we have to give the money back to Russia, we did some of the transaction via the Chinese yuan. Now India and China already have hostilities. Now India doesn't want to use Chinese yuan, but as per the situations which arise, we had to use it. So Chinese yuan using for India and Russian is not a long-term or viable option right now. So these are some of the concerns we have at present with the Vostro account and India using Indian rupees to buy goods from Russia. Now agreements in the past. This is not the first time or first instance where there has been a use of Indian currency for trade and commerce with other countries. Now the first such was used Vostro account with Iran. Like with Iran, it's more viable because of the sanctions of US on Iran. They were not able to use the US dollars, but to continue India and Iran trades, the similar Vostro account was created. But for Iran, it was more valuable because they could buy more goods from India, and we had kind of stable relationship. So with Iran, this was a success, but with Russia, we are still struggling with this. And apart from this, during the Cold War, also this kind of things happen where the US has sanctioned the USSR and its allies. So similar kind of Vostro accounts was used in the Cold War periods also. Now what we need is a new financial architecture. I have told you, rupee dirham arrangement has been made by India UAE recently. Now this UAE dirham is more favorable for Russia. So Russia could actually transact more than in Indian rupees. Russia could transact in dirham, which is a viable option for UAE, India and Russia. And also in UAE there are a lot of Indians, like about 3.5 million of Indian community reside in UAE, and we get a remittance of about 18% from UAE alone. So if we are having this kind of local currency swap with India in UAE, it would benefit the Indians in UAE. It would be very cost effective and quick kind of transaction of money for the Indians in UAE. Now, so this India and the UAE is not the first kind. We are having also this such kind of currency swap with Sri Lanka. We are developing new kind of currency swap with Indonesia using their rupiah. So these are some of the new developments that is happening. So because of these developments, there is internationalization of our rupees. At the same time, there is de-dollarization. So these all local currencies, all these global south countries are trying to promote their local currencies and de-dollarizing the US dollars. So this is one of the key highlights the author has mentioned in this article. Now let's move on to our next topic, CHIPS Act of USA. Now, as per the name chips itself, we could sound that to semiconductors. So, this act actually talks about creating helpful incentives to produce semiconductors and Science Act of 2022 chips. This has been released like 1 year ago. It has been in August 9th, 1 year has been completed. Under this, about $52.7 billion has been allocated for the next 5 years for the development of chips in the case of USA. Now, there are some important things which you need to know in this act. Like you see, in this act, in the CHIPS Act, $52.7 billion has not been allocated to a single industry or a single department, but it has been divided between 4 departments like the Department of Commerce, Defense, State and the National Science Foundation. Each of these 4 departments has 4 roles. The Department of Commerce, they have been allotted the majority share of 50 billions where they have to accelerate the semiconductor manufacturing. In the defense, only $2 billion where they will be accelerating the defense kind of equipments from these semiconductors. Then we have a Department of State where they will be promoting the semiconductor supply chain security, and in National Science Foundation we have the growth of semiconductor workforce. So these are the 4 criteria that has been mentioned under this CHIPS Act. But should we learn an act of USA? No need. The thing is that India has been focusing more on semiconductor, our missions, India semiconductor missions and such. So what we need to know is that take lessons from USA. This is just a blueprint of their act. We need not learn about these departments or what they do or how much fund is allocated to them. What we need to know is take lessons from USA so that we can develop our own semiconductor industry. The problem with India is we have not resources, but we have a lot of departments which handles a different kind of work. There is no coordination between these departments, and there is a wastage of resources and assets also. So, on this point, we need to do more of like they have a complete system where there are 4 departments, they have 4 works, but there is coordination between these 4 departments, because of which there is not a loss of resources and the assets and the money is properly utilized for the development of manufacturing resources of semiconductor. So, India needs to portray a way like that. Presently, even India has like 4 departments on the semiconductor. We have the Indian Semiconductor Mission, which looks more the schemes of manufacturing, assembling and display of compounding of semiconductors. CDAC mainly focus on the designing of these chips. We have the National Semiconductor Technology Center, which collaborate with industries and education institutes. So we can create a workforce which knows about how the manufacturing of semiconductors is created. We have CHIPS 2 startup where they are collaborating with about 100 universities so as to create a proper workforce for the semiconductor field access. The thing which we need to know that we have the resources or we have the mapped how to achieve a semiconductor. What we need is collaboration between these resources. So, the most suggestions articles mention that the government needs to publish monthly progress reports of how the semiconductor units are working in India. So, we have an idea of how progression India is making in the case of semiconductors. Also, the thing is that India mainly focus only on manufacturing. We are not looking for the advanced level of manufacturing, or we are not even looking into packaging sector, because India have just started. It's okay with that. We are just looking onto manufacturing and not advanced. But in the future, we need to also focus on these kind of sectors, because that is what makes the semiconductor unit or the semiconductor fabs in India complete. So, apart from this manufacturing phase, in the future, India also need to focus on advanced manufacturing, making the chip size small. So, these are some of the criteria, and also focus more on packaging. So, although author urges that the Indian Semiconductor Strategy study the positive and the drawbacks of this CHIP Act, so that we can make the suggestions or the recommendations to the present India Semiconductor Mission and get viable results. So, that is all about the topic. Now, we have issue norms for sex selective surgeries on intersex infants. So, first we need to know what is intersex. So, we have heard about transgenders. So, when a baby is born, like the baby has not developed any genitals yet. So, what the doctor or the parents do that they assign a selective gender for that baby, and they do a reconstruction surgery to get the baby a genital that is identified to the parents or doctors. But the problem is that, like I am a parent, I got an intersex baby who hasn't developed any genitals yet. So, I tell the doctors assign the baby as a girl. But when the baby grows up to an adolescence, the baby might not identify as a she, but a he. So, there can be psychological problems associated with it as well. So, it is a decision that has been taken by the parents and the doctors with no consent from the baby or the child. The child is not in a situation to take any such decisions of its own. So, it's more like we have to wait till an adolescent year till to find what the gender that the baby identifies itself in. Now, for this, there has been an act brought by the NALSA in 2014 to recognize these intersex babies or transgenders as a third gender. Apart from male, female, we will have another gender as well. In the landmark ruling, Justice K.S. Radhakrishnan observed that recognition of transgender as a third gender is not based on a social issue or medical issue. It is a human right of that person. He may be a transgender, but it is no less than a male or female. He or she is also a human being. So, this third gender category is not based upon the medical issue or the social issues associated. As per this, our parliament has made an act of Transgender Persons Protection Right Bill in 2019. In this, they actually defined the transgender, and as per the section 2K of the Transgender Act, they took into persons with intersex variation also. This is mainly portraying the transgender, but they look into the cases of intersex babies or intersex persons also. As also in the section 44(2) of this act, they guarantee the right to have a self-perceive of gender, not the doctor or the court or the parent. They are in no viable state to like to declare the baby as a male or female. It is a self-right to identify as a gender. So that is what is there in the act of the Parliament Act of 2019. Then, as per the news, in Kerala, an intersex baby was born. So the parents and doctors have asked the Supreme Court that they want to conduct a gentle surgery on the baby. So the Kerala High Court has actually stopped this issue right now and wants a panel or a selected committee panel to actually go through this issue and identify what will be the viable option to adopt. Now they have selected a committee which consists of a pediatrician, pediatric surgeon and a child psychologist. The thing is that if you are trying to grant the baby a genital surgery now, it would be actually a violation of the rights of the baby right now. So there is actually a lot of dilemmas and confusion and ethical creations of problems that is happening here. You might even actually get ethics based case studies or even questions based on such kind, where is it ethical to convert a baby genital based, because that baby might not even be that they may create emotional and psychological issues, that because if we are assigned a girl and the child identifies itself as a male, there is going to be a lot of psychological issues associated with it. So it's a very big issue because the parents and the doctors has to take a decision according to it as well, not harming the dignity and rights of the baby as well. Now we are closing our main topic and we are moving to our prelims topic. We have a non-conference motion which is recently passed and it's going to start from today. We need to know what is a non-conference motion. It is to prove the majority of the current ruling party in the Lok Sabha. It can be moved by any MP and this has to be actually backed by at least 50 MPs present in the parliament, then it is accepted by the speaker. In this case, the speaker has accepted the no-conference motion, so it has to start within 10 days or else the motion fails. Now, if this no-conference motion is passed, which means that the present government have to resign. Now, this is not the first time we have a no-conference motion. The first no-conference motion was in 1963 against Nehru after the Indo-China war. Then we have up till July 20, there has been 26 to 27 no-conference motion already. Majority non-conference motion came during the time of Indira Gandhi. Now, there is also in the last 3 years, about last 3 has been observed in the last 25 years. So, these are some basic facts in the case of no-conference motion. We will know the current state of a government after this motion has been passed or not passed, because in the present stand, the BJP already has a lot of majority. So, this is not going to be a very big issue for the government, that is what I perceive. Now, moving on to our next prelim topics, we have ECOWAS. Now, ECOWAS is an economic community of West African states. It consists upon 15 states. You see this West Africa, the green. These are the 15 states which identify under the ECOWAS. It just comes under the West African region. So, it's called the Economic Community of West African States. Now, the main purpose is actually to achieve collective self-sufficiency in the case of trade and commerce. So, they want to build a full economic bloc in the region. Also, another aim is to ensure the peace and security of the area as well. Now, you see there has been a lot of coup, military junta coup happening in West African region. Recently, Niger faced a similar coup. Last year or 2 years before, there was similar coup in Mali. So, this unit, this ECOWAS actually want to resolve the problems which is happening in Niger and restore the government so that democracy is ensured in that area. So we will see in the future what all discussion has been taken place in between as per the ECOWAS. Now to our last topic, Russia to launch the first moon lander since 1976. Russia is to launch Luna 25 spacecraft to same position as Chandrayaan 3 goes, that is in South Pole. Like it see that both the Luna 25 will be launching in this weekend, and when this thing is that they may both reach South Pole at the same time. So the Russia has assured that they won't interfere with the trajectory or path of Chandrayaan as well. Similarly, Japan is also going to start their SLIM program, that is a smart lander to investigate moon. This will be launched in August 23rd. This is the first time all the 3 to 4 countries are together launching their moon mission, and they will be orbiting the moon simultaneously. Now that is it about this launch of Australia. Now moving on to some practice question. Convertibility of rupee implies being able to convert rupee notes into gold, allowing the value of rupee to be fixed by the market force, freely permitting the conversion of rupee to other currencies and vice versa, developing an international market for currencies in India. So the convertibility of rupees is basically the C, option C, that is freely permitting the conversion of rupees to other currencies and vice versa. In India, legal service authorities like the NALSA I talked about, legal service authorities provide free legal service to which of the following types of citizens? Person with an annual income less than 1 lakh, transgender with an annual income less than 2 lakh, members of other backward classes with an annual income less than 3 lakh, or senior citizens. Now if you are going with the eliminating pattern of the UPSC, you could first eliminate this, because all senior citizens like that is not permitted as a free legal aid, and members with OBC less than annual income of 3 lakh is also not permitted. The first and 1 and 2 is only the correct option. Now moving on to a mains practice question, I want you to go through this question. We will be discussing it first thing in tomorrow's class. How China's internalization of renminbi can be taken as a lesson, suggest reforms needed for making India rupees international. So please work this out, and we will be discussing in the first day tomorrow's class. So thank you, have a nice day. We will be seeing again tomorrow. You can get the PDF from our Telegram channel, Gallant IAS official. Thank you, have a nice day.